She doesn't even go here.
I'm bi, actually.
Excuse me. Could the ugly, untalented gays please report to the principal's office?
Hi, I'm Kurt Hummel, and I'll be auditioning for the role of kicker.
Hey! Welcome in, you guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Not So Straight Nerds. I'm your host, Luke.
And I'm your other host, Alicia.
And today, we have a conversation on Season 3 of Netflix's Ginny and Georgia. So, it's
So
interesting. I feel like I don't see people talk about this, but it's like a sleeper hit for Netflix.
It is. I've heard some people talk about it, but not as much as I thought I would see of it. And yeah, but it's a really big success. A lot of people are saying really good things about it, and I totally agree with them. I'm very excited to talk about this. So
Absolutely.
it's definitely a hit for them. And the first two were, and you know, there were plenty of people making fun of the first two, and it was still popular. So
Yeah, absolutely.
what you gonna do?
So real quick, because we are coming in at Season 3,
Yes.
I think context is very important to kind of get into how we feel about Season 3. So,
Yeah.
real quick, I kind of want to move our conversation towards Seasons 1 and 2.
Wait, but before then, vibe check.
Vibe check. Oh my gosh.
We almost missed it.
We almost did.
Our cat's having
Heaven
the
forbid.
zoomies right now. My cat's having the zoomies.
Vibe check, I feel great.
Yeah, I feel great too. I'm excited to record our next 4 episodes. Honestly, we're like grinding this weekend. We're getting these episodes out, so it's been a long week.
Yeah.
So, anyways, now we're back. But I'm very excited for this episode in particular. I've been itching to talk about it. I have so much to say. So many thoughts. I feel like I have a lot in the con section, but it's just like a paragraph. Like it's not like, it's just like me ranting. It's
Sure.
not like I have all these things to say about the show. But anyways, I have mostly positive things. I'm just excited.
He's freaking out.
Speaking of like murder, this show.
Okay.
Anyways.
Circling back, so Season 1 and Season 2. How did you did you watch them as they were released? Like, what's your backstory?
I think so.
Lore drop.
Now, I don't know if I was here for like when Season 1 dropped. I don't remember that. Because that was 2021. I'm looking at it. Hey. But I definitely watched it and then watched it in time for Season 2 to come out. And then obviously I was here for Season 3. It's had its moment for a while, and I mean, I've liked it, but I was kind of on the fence towards that, like, yeah, I can see why people are kind of making fun of this show. Like, it has some cringy dialogue, some acting, like, you know, it needs to work out the kinks. And I feel like for Season 3, they really found their place. And I don't know if it's just because of the content they were exploring, or if they just like really stepped up their game writing wise, if they got new writers, I don't know. But it didn't feel like a new show, but it just felt like what it was trying to perfect.
Okay.
In a way.
Sure.
Not to say that it was perfect all around, but they did a really good job stepping up, I would say.
Sure.
What about
Clearly,
you?
a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah.
So, I did not hear of this show when Season 1 released.
Yeah.
And the only reason I knew about it was because our college friends were watching it. And I
Yeah.
was like, and then I got super attached in like
Welcome for the
second to
ASMR.
last episode of Season 2, and I was like,
Yeah.
I'm
You're like,
starting
dang,
over.
yeah, I have to watch this. The second to last episode. Oh, so you kind of like knew some stuff going in.
I knew a couple of things.
Yeah.
So, which was an interesting experience, but
He's attacking my foot. Anyways.
what a freak.
Yeah.
So,
that was
and then
nice.
we ended up all watching it together,
Mhm.
and it was really. It's a very good binge.
Absolutely. I
Like-
love this as a binge.
I have to wonder what it would be like to watch it on a weekly basis, but like this
I'm
is.
glad I don't have to.
It's so like I need to see what's next. It's,
Yeah.
and it doesn't feel like it does cheap cliffhangers either.
Mhm.
I don't know what it is. I feel like you can't say that the writing isn't very binge writing. It's great
Mhm.
binge writing. Whatever
Yeah.
they do to make it to be that way, it's
like
impressive.
when Netflix really does its thing and it does it well and successfully, it's like you can kind of understand how they've gotten here.
Sure.
Like also with K-pop demons, but we're not gonna or Demon Hunter, but we're not gonna talk about that yet. We're talking about that later. Anyways, when they do their thing, they eat that. So there's a reason they've gotten a lot of nominations and some wins at the Oscars, even though they're a streaming service. Like they do sometimes get out some really good stuff. So yeah.
So I've always kind of I remember a conversation with this show that's always kind of stuck with me was it was like almost like someone was like calling it like trashy TV.
Yeah.
And I feel like I can see where they're coming from.
Mhm.
But I disagree. I feel like this is a show that easily could fall into the trashy TV, like
Yeah.
trashy drama category.
Yeah.
But I feel like the performances, and I would say like
Mhm.
almost specifically like of the main cast, like of
Yeah.
the family unit here,
Yeah.
and the writing,
Mhm.
and even I would say like the shots and editing, like nothing feels like
Mhm.
it's like done cheaply. It feels like most of
Mhm.
it's done very intentionally.
Yeah.
And the only reason I think people can kind of get into that sphere is because the writing can be a little cringy.
Yeah.
Counterpoint, we are watching high schooler. They're playing
Yeah.
high schoolers.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's like even those moments, like I know a lot of people, I just brought it up for the episode, bring up like the saluting scene that Ginny does where she like salutes somebody and then walks away. I forgot if it's like Hunter or whoever it is. Also, I'm so glad I like forgot Hunter existed this season.
I
'Cause
completely forgot before
good riddance.
he showed up.
I like hated him. He was the one that I was like, he's the only one I feel like has cringy dialogue and is actively bringing this down for me. I like did not like his character. I don't know. I liked everybody else's though. Like Max, I know a lot of people can say she's a lot and she has cringy lines. I think she's just
Well, but that's also, intentional. There's
Yeah.
if it's interacted in universe, you can say
Yeah.
what you will about it, but you can't
Mhm.
say it's not what they're trying to do.
Yeah, and I can understand, like, we've talked about kind of the stuff before where we're like, well, there's a line, like, and so maybe it crossed some people's lines. I don't feel like it crossed
I
mine.
would say in season 2 specifically, I think Max gets to.
Oh, yeah. Especially with what they want to do with her this season, it does kind of
Those two things back to back does feel like a bad combination.
a lot. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. But, I mean, it makes for an interesting conversation about it, so
Absolutely.
I don't know.
What do you think is a show that you would like compare this to ballpark? Because I think when I think of like cringy TV drama, I go to like Riverdale, and I would say this is a solid couple steps. Like this is maybe where I think season 1 of Riverdale is, and I'll stand by the first season of Riverdale.
Early Riverdale, really good.
But I
That's it. Yeah, that's a good comparison.
would say this is like a notch down between like the first season of like Euphoria, which I think is arguably somewhere on this spectrum.
Okay, definitely not near as raunchy. I'll tell you that.
Sure.
But I don't know. I actually don't see that at all. I kind of want you to explain like what vibes you get. I'm not saying it's like.
Well, I'm just
Not
talking about the
that
things
bad.
that people kind of view as like, oh, this is drama trash.
Oh.
Throw on for the drum.
I mean, it's as if like The Summer I Turned Pretty had a or a murder mystery element to it. So not that. Maybe like We Were Liars that just came out. That's like a not necessarily a murder mystery. I don't know. Anything that's like reality of high schoolers' lives with like a murder
Sure.
element to it. Riverdale's like the best example I can think of right now.
I think it's really interesting that this show is almost, because it's Ginny and Georgia, and you have an adult having a very intense life, and you have a high schooler
Yeah.
also going through their own stuff. Like it's,
Mhm.
I think it's interesting that we can't kind of pinpoint where it is because, it feels like a lot of the examples are high school level, but this is not a this is like
Yeah.
half of a high school show.
That's so
It's
true.
half high school, half adult, which I think might be why it feels like it's so unique in a way, I think.
You have something to say? He said yes. Yes.
Said, I actually
Give it.
loved the last season
Give
of
it.
Riverdale.
I actually love it. Give it to me. Give it to me. It was a vibe. It was a vibe. Anyway.
So another thing that I've heard a lot with the earlier seasons is how a lot of people did not like Ginny. And I think that brought down the show for a lot of people.
And it's one of those things where I can understand where they're coming from as well. But I don't know. And you know what? I think at some point I was a part of that. But I've grown from that and I've thought about it. And it's like you have to look at it from her perspective. And honestly, it's valid. It's hard when the viewer sees things, what
Yes.
Georgia's doing and why she's doing it. And the flashbacks, the full context of it. That's what's different. I think it's almost... I don't want to say it's bad writing. I think a lot of movies and TV shows give the audience the full context, and then there's miscommunication within the characters of the product. But
I would
I
say
don't
maybe
know.
piggybacking off of that point, I think maybe that would work if Ginny was the main character and they weren't co-leads. But because
Yeah.
we're seeing both stories and like constantly seeing both perspectives, but they aren't constantly seeing both perspectives, there's a
Yeah.
disconnect between what we're going through and what they're going through.
yeah.
So it almost feels like it would be stronger if they picked a perspective to kind of go through things.
yeah.
So then we can kind of learn the truth and, you know, truly be in that perspective with them.
Yeah.
As we kind of, and like, there's more sympathy that you can get through it that way.
Yeah. I feel like they needed to... It's hard because...
But then you're
Ginny-
trading off what we just said makes the show feel special.
Yeah. But it's hard because Ginny's also growing up, and so, like, there's not many flashbacks that you can really do. I mean, I feel like they tried to do that this season, although I didn't really like the actress for young Ginny. I'm so sorry. I think, actually, it's not so much I didn't like her. I didn't think she looked much like her. I thought they put her in a hairstyle and called it a day, which seems very lazy for the casting directors, because they have some banger, like, younger young Georgia.
Oh, that's amazing
Crazy. I mean, anyways, I don't know. I feel like maybe we needed to see more flashbacks from Ginny earlier on to understand why she's like this. But also, she's a teenager. Not only is she just gonna make bad decisions and have bad judgment, it's also her mom might be cool to us because we're adults watching it, but she's a teenage girl and that's her mom. Like, that totally makes sense to me. So I think when you sit down and think about her perspective, it's still frustrating because you know Georgia's coming from a good place, but she doesn't know that, and she needs to learn that, and she does eventually.
I
just
think
takes
there's
a while.
also
That's
an
okay.
important element that I think some people overlook.
Yeah.
Which is that having Georgia as your mom,
Mm-hmm.
while she's very sincere and she's super loving and
Yeah.
clearly will go above and beyond in those categories,
Yeah.
she also is such a big personality that especially I would say if you're someone as like creative as Ginny and
Yeah.
like obviously high school is like a big time of trying to like find
Figure out
and
who
figure
you
out who you are.
Yeah.
And then here's Georgia kind of sucking all the air out of the room.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of personality, and it's great to watch.
Yeah.
But you would inherently feel different if that was always around you.
Absolutely.
And, like, you're constantly being compared to that.
Yeah.
I think that's something that I think kind of gets a little left out of the conversation. That being around Georgia constantly is, you know, I don't want to say. I think the thing is like trying to find your own space in the room next to Georgia.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to say that's almost what they might be doing with Austin this next season, because where does he stand now? I don't want to get into it yet, because there are spoilers within that. But because Ginny's really finding her place and who she is, but Austin really isn't. And he's been tested in ways that are really going to affect him. And I'm very interested to see the differences in how he handles that versus Ginny. Just like, I don't know.
It does feel like he's starting his own Ginny arc.
Yeah, except he's
Much more
also,
valid.
yeah, and then he's Well, actually, he's not a teenage boy. He's still like in what, 3rd grade? He's supposed to be, which is nuts.
Crazy.
They need to have a time jump, but whatever. I don't
We'll get into that.
think they will. At least not enough to explain his height and everything. But I don't know. He's growing, so it's gonna affect him. But boys are different usually, so I don't know. They have different expectations. Their friends treat them differently, so I wonder how that will look for him.
Indeed. So next, I think, was there anything else you wanted to cover on seasons 1 through 2?
Not really. Yeah, because I really just want to spend a lot of time talking about season 3.
Sure.
If I didn't have as much to say, like with Summer I Turned Pretty, I feel like we could evenly kind of talk about both because they were whatever. This one, I'm like, I really want to get into season 3.
Absolutely.
But I did like the first 2 seasons.
Yes.
I can see where people are coming from. It just, and maybe at a time it bothered me, but I feel like I've just grown out of that and it doesn't bother me anymore. I like Ginny, even in the early seasons, like I can at least see where she's coming from.
Yeah, I also really liked Ginny as a character.
Yeah. Plus, like, if she was buddy with Georgia from the beginning,
Where's
where
the
does
show?
she grow? Yeah. So, there you go. Anyways, let's get into it if you're
Yeah,
ready to
absolutely.
get into it. Yeah.
So I will just be bouncing off of your pros and cons because I was a slacker and I didn't fill
It's
out
okay.
my
I
pros and
have a
cons.
lot, so sorry. Okay. One thing I really, really like about the show.
And we are still on non-spoilers, by the way.
Yes.
We'll warn
okay.
you when we get to spoiler
I'm
talk.
glad you told me that. That's
Yes.
good to put in my brain. So, one thing I really liked about the show, and this has been a thing in all 3 seasons, is Ginny's, like, one of her closest friends, Max, and her family.
You live
she
right
has
next door.
Right next door, neighbors, and they go to school together and all those things. Has an older brother, Marcus, and then 2 parents.
Not older
And-
brother, twin.
Twin. Sorry, yeah. Oh, I forget that actually sometimes. Even though like I feel like it's good casting, but I forget that. Anyways, their dad is deaf, and so they have a lot of ASL anytime they talk as a family, or whether he's talking to somebody or whatever. I loved that he had his little moment. He had like one little scene with just him and somebody else, and I was like, that's really nice because I feel like I don't know if I've seen that before. We've seen a lot of the mom have conversations one-on-one with somebody else because the mom is friends with Georgia. I forgot her name. The mom. I don't remember.
Hold on. I have the cast list pulled up. Ellen.
Ellen! Anyways.
No, we've definitely seen scenes of just him and like the kids before.
Okay. I just must have forgot because it felt really nice to see it this season, but I continue to love the ASL representation. I think that's really important to normalize it. And I think they've even talked about it a little bit before. Correct me if I'm wrong because you have a better memory than me. About what it's like having like a deaf parent and you're a hearing kid. I don't think they get into it a lot.
Not a whole lot. I like that. It just feel very normal.
Yeah. It's definitely there, and they can fight and be at their worst, and they're still signing because that's so important to still communicate. And it's just so natural, and I love that. I'm learning ASL. I learned ASL in high school a little bit, but then I stopped for a while, and then now I'm back because, yeah. But anyways, so it's fun to pick up the little signs, kind of test myself how much can I understand. I mean, there's captions, but I'm going to try to look at their hands instead, so it's fun. Just wanted to give a shout out.
Yeah,
So.
I think that's all done
Yeah.
really well. I think also in terms of representation, I like that it also is very real. Like they're not perfect parents either.
Yeah.
Borderline towards the end there, they make some very questionable choices.
Yeah.
But you can still see where they're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels very authentic.
Mm-hmm. It's very interesting where Ellen is in this season because she's very much like, I don't know where my place is. I don't know how to feel about this. Like, if I want to trust this person, but if I do and I'm wrong, like, that could put my family in danger. Like, it's very interesting.
It's very interesting, but actually that kind of is a great point that I don't think we explained for those who might not have seen Ginny and Georgia.
Oh, yeah.
So basically, it's a drama. Ginny is the daughter of Georgia, and they have their little brother Austin,
Yeah.
and they just moved into this new town. It's
Yeah.
Wellsbury.
Wellsbury, I think.
And basically, Georgia has a shady past.
Mm-hmm.
She has had 3 husbands mysteriously disappear. She's killed them.
Yeah.
One of them was sent to prison. But we through flashbacks you learn that she's kind of a survivor, and
She didn't just
if anyone
kill
had
them
it coming, it was probably them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in a lot of it stems from her trying to make sure that her kids were safe.
Yeah.
And then just trying to start over. So there's a lot of interesting nuance there, which I super like.
Can we talk about spoilers from the first 2 seasons?
Yes, I would say yes.
Okay.
So she comes in, she marries this. She ends up
Marrying the mayor.
marrying the mayor.
Yeah.
And that is the season 2 finale, and then she gets arrested because she decided to suffocate the
Cynthia, it's one of her quote unquote friends, but
her
frenemies.
her used to be her biggest hater in town.
Yeah.
Recently turned to enemy because her husband became
Friend.
bedridden.
Friend.
And friend.
Mhm.
Frenemies, we'll call them.
Yeah, that's what I said. Frenemies.
And because the cost and everything about having the dad there but not there in the house was weighing heavily
draining
on
their
the
bills.
family and financially.
Yeah.
Georgia decided it was best to kind of put him out with the pillow, and so she killed him. Austin did watch secretly
was in a
as he was hiding in a
closet.
closet, and that is ultimately why she ends up getting arrested.
Yeah.
And she is on trial the entire 3rd season.
Yep. And then everybody's just kind of dealing, Austin's trying to deal with, what do I do? And, after I saw that, how do I feel about my mom and what do I do about that? Ginny's I don't want my mom to go to jail. And a lot of stuff hits the fan. It goes kind of crazy. So, yeah. And then Ginny's friend group is how do we support Ginny? And
Most of them.
most of them. We'll get into that. And then Ginny and Marcus have been kind of an on and off again thing. And it's not because of anything toxic. It's actually pretty healthy reason. Marcus is struggling with his mental health, and he's recognizing that he's not in a place to be with Ginny and be with her in the way that she deserves, but they still clearly have so much love and respect for each other, and I love to see that, especially from high schoolers.
Yeah.
That's so crazy, but I just love to see it. The first season or so, Ginny was with Hunter, this guy who was supposedly the guy everyone wanted to get with that school, even though he's ugly. Sorry.
Whoa. Why are you being a hater?
Okay, he's probably not that ugly when he has a hairstyle that doesn't make him look ugly. But they give him the stupid little ponytail. I'm like, ooh.
The one that he was rocking in the Fair
God.
Street Prom Queen.
Oh my God. He was in that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
And he had the ponytail still too.
Ew. Somebody needs to... Who hates this man? He's probably not ugly when you style his hair correctly. But his little stupid ponytail just ruins it. Anyways. And he's also just so cringy. I remember when they go on the date and he's like, so let's get all that whatever first date nonsense and let's get juicy with it. I hated that. I wanted to die when he said that. Oh my god. He's barely in the 3rd season. Thank God, because I was over him. So over him. Anyways, I'm also over Cash, I think his name is. He's the jerk of the friend group.
Oh, what's your name?
Major jerk. I'm why are you friends with him? Kind of jerk. Not even a funny, ha, that's just, Press. I don't know. Why did I think his name was Cash? Anyways, sorry to Cash. Anyways.
Sorry to all the Cashes out there.
Sorry. Anyways. Press is a jerk. And so is Samantha. Is that her name? Well, okay. She's a jerk because she's trying to fit in with the friend group. They're jerks to her and need to be honest with her that they don't want to be friends with her.
Sure.
I've never liked how they've treated her. She's been rude back, but I just feel that's coming off as, I want to be in your friend group. I want to be like you. Because they're being jerks to her.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, guys, you clearly don't want to be friends with her. Just, like, tell her that. But whatever. Anyways, nobody... that friend group doesn't know how to communicate. Jenny knows how to learns how to communicate with a select group of people, and Max apparently communicates too much for the friend group. So, anyways, let's move on.
Yeah.
So,
So
a little rundown of who everyone is.
yeah, I think that's a decent catch up. So do you want
For
to?
now.
You just you keep going on your pros. I'll be right back.
Okay. Okay.
Pick one I agree with.
Oh, okay. Can I talk about the mental health conversation?
Sure, I think
Are
that's
you a
great.
hater of mental health?
I fucking hate mental health.
anyways. Okay. So I'll have my little moment here. In the show, they have a discussion about mental health with Marcus mainly. And because he's going through depression, he has depression. I think he takes medicine for it, but it's not really working, and he's really struggling with it. And even though he let go of Jenny, obviously that doesn't mean it just magically goes away. And so they have a big discussion about it this season in a really interesting way. There's this one scene he has with Ginny because his parents are trying to cope and figure out how to deal with his mental health and how to help him. So they get him this like paint studio in their garage, and him and Ginny have a conversation in the garage where he's explaining what it's like to have depression, where he's basically like, it's like you're standing in the middle of an ER with your arm cut off, blood is like splurting everywhere, and nobody's rushing to help you. That's what it's like. It's like an invisible, horrible, I can't think of the word. It's like
Injury?
really bad injury.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a word before injury. Also, he just flopped backwards. That's crazy. What are you even getting right now?
He's trying to bite his collar while it's on his neck.
Right. I can take it off. Gosh. Anyways.
Yeah, I think it's really done really interesting, and I think
Oh my
the way
gosh.
he looks at it
Yeah.
is a really great perspective. I also think they have a really interesting commentary on how to be there for people like that.
Yeah.
And it's a very intense conversation as well. I think specifically with how his sister is kind of forced into a role that honestly is,
horrible.
It's a horrible place to be in, but also it's, she ends up doing a lot more for him than like the parents do, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah. I want to get into that later because I have a very similar personal experience with that. So you don't even know this, but I'll do a little lore drop later.
Oh
Yeah, but that's why. That's not the only reason I found it interesting. But I love that conversation. I love that, whatever you call it, analogy, metaphor. I don't know the differences between all those terms. I'm so sorry. Anyways.
If he says the word like or as, it's a simile.
Okay, I know that. Anyways, but an invisible energy. Injury. Injury. Anyways, I'm sorry, guys.
Right.
But I found that so interesting. I remember like tearing up when I heard that. I don't remember if I actually cried when I heard that, but it like was such a good. It's just one of those lines where you're like, wow, I'm gonna remember that line forever. So I cried probably 3 times during the season. I cried. Max has her own episode, kind of like it's centralized around her, I would say. I definitely cried in that one, and then I cried in the finale with a scene Marcus has with his whole family. We'll get into that later. That's the one you were talking about, I think. So, yeah, very. Get your tissues ready, because they ain't coming to play. Like, they're doing that 1-2 punch and maybe another
Did you
one.
ever feel as, like, emotionally moved by this show before season 3? Because I don't think I was.
Anytime. So, Ginny also struggles with mental health.
No, you're right. That did hit.
Yeah. She struggles. Marcus struggles where he binge drinks. Like that's how he handles it in like the toxic way when he's not in a good space to handle it in a healthy way. When Ginny's in a dark place, she self-harms.
Warning, we will probably get maybe a little bit deeper into that.
Yeah.
So, trigger warning.
Yeah. So I always found the way they handled that to be really deep and powerful and sad. And especially when, well, I guess this is not spoilers because I think this happens in season 2. When her mom finds out that she's self-harming, oh my God.
Oh, that is a tearjerker.
Yeah. And this season they have a scene. I don't want to get too detailed, but they have a scene where, oh my God, that might have been another time I teared out. I don't think I cried in that scene, but anytime, I mean, even when you don't like Ginny, like if there's a point where you don't like Ginny in the earlier seasons, I feel like basic human empathy, you still feel for that and you don't want her to hurt herself just, because she's in that dark place, especially when it's about things out of her control. And even, I don't know, even so, it's just, you never want somebody to do that. And I think they handle it really well. So I think they write it really well.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. The mental health discussion has always been, I think, very well done in this show.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I guess I probably can't say the next one.
I will say I'll spin off of that one. I like
Mm-hmm.
the way it shows Georgia being Georgia, no matter where her environment is.
Yeah.
I think to show how Georgia is a really resourceful and a very like almost a force of will and power.
Yeah.
It's very interesting to see that she'll always be Georgia.
Mm-hmm. Because it's like she's been doing this for the longest time. This is how she survived and raised her kids. So even something like being arrested and going on trial is not going to stop her from looking her best, being her best, acting her best. So one way or another, she's going to figure out how to get all the check marks, I guess. So I found that really cool. And
that was what this is. There's a specific thing we're kind of talking around,
yes,
but that's something that
yeah.
my boss, who's very into this show, was like. That was the thing where she was like, it was so cool, like to see her do this thing.
Yep.
And to see her actually do it in the show was very like.
Yeah.
That is really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I really like how they set it up earlier in the episode to be like, and this is where she got it from.
Yes.
She's always been like this. And
yeah.
Super cool.
She's always 10 steps ahead. So, yeah. Even if it's with decisions you don't agree with, it's like she's known she's going to make that decision for a while, usually. Yeah. So,
for sure.
It's very rare that you can surprise her. She does get surprised in this season. But,
oh, for sure.
Okay. Let's just say Press gets what he deserves in a scene. I wish he got worse. So, anyways, good for Ginny. And that's all I'm going to say. There's also something that happens with Zion.
The dynamic between Ginny, Zion, and Georgia gets very pressed this season.
Very, yeah.
And it's interesting to kind of look at what that dynamic is, and like the way they the way that they blame each other for the situation they're in.
Yeah.
And kind of looking at things in retrospect. Some interesting looks about, late parenting. And kind of maybe how not to approach eventually stepping up.
Yeah.
It's all interesting. And
yeah,
I fear there is an overarching problem, I think, with season 3 that they just kind of unanimously make every male character
or not likable,
unlikable,
except for Joe.
Except for
Love
Joe.
You, Joe.
But
yeah,
but more than unlikable, some of them, which I think have been great characters in other seasons, are just like completely sabotaged to an extent where it's like almost considering I think a lot of the show is done very intentionally, it feels like the self-sabotage where we can't look at these characters the same ever again feels unintentional.
It's hard because they definitely do that with Paul. Like, you will hate him by the end of the season. Absolutely. If you don't, you're crazy. You will hate. You're supposed to hate him. That's how they write it. I feel like with Zion, though, I've heard some people say they butchered Paul and Zion's character. I don't know. I didn't hate him by the end of the season.
It's another thing where, he's not the main character, and you see him dealing with stuff that we've already processed with how the show releases, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So you see him playing catch up. He doesn't get the full picture on some things that he learns, and he freaks out. And I think there's an element of him blaming himself and Georgia for some stuff that we know that Ginny has gone through. And I like the commentary they use through him. Ultimately, I'm fine with where he ends up. I don't think he's nearly as ruined as other characters.
Yeah,
and
I totally agree.
I feel we just need to see him more in that space when there's less pressure on it.
Yeah.
And I'll leave it there. They do some very interesting stuff here.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
And I guess there was something that a lot of people were like, I can't believe he did that, specifically with another character. And I guess it never clicked for me that he didn't know some things. Like, I think a problem was that, I think a lot of people assume that he knew things.
Yeah. He did not.
Clearly not.
He didn't even, I don't think he even knew Gil was abusive.
No.
No, he didn't.
He did not. He had to be told that, which feels a little
That's crazy.
because, I don't know.
I don't know.
But moving on.
And also, his parents are just continue to be insufferable. I don't care if they want to.
Sure.
I just hate them. They're so annoying. Anyways, and Zion's a man baby for not standing up to them ever. Not in the way he should, at least.
Sure.
Okay, I can't mention that one. Let's just say Joe does something that makes him king, even more king. Love him.
Joe, I think, is very fun this season. We see him, I think, a lot less than other seasons, which is a bit of a bummer, but when they use him, it's very, very good.
Yeah. And then my last pro that I had written down was Max has her own little episode, basically, and I really liked how that was done. And, I mean, that, hit me so hard. I was like, oh, my God, I haven't, felt this way about a TV show in a while. Or, been so sad for another character in a while. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was really well done, I think. And I feel like there's a really good discussion around that when we get to the spoiler section. Very big discussion. So, because a lot of frustrating things happened to her as well. But it's a very nuanced and complicated situation. It's not, one person's clearly the good guy and other person's bad guy. It's just a very messy situation that a lot of things could have been handled much better. So, on a lot of sides. So, anyways.
I feel absolutely the same. If I might add on to the pros.
Absolutely.
Another pro I really liked is there's a plot line that Abby's character goes through, which I thought was super fun and very interesting. There's actually two things. They explore more stuff with her parents.
Yeah.
Which I find very, very interesting. And then there's a new love interest that comes into frame for her.
Yeah.
Which we love her getting away from press.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That whole friend group needs to get away from press.
I also feel like I always liked Abby, but now that I've seen her in Clown in a Cornfield, I'm like, I love her.
I need to watch that sometime. So
whenever it gets a little cheaper, we'll buy it and we'll watch it. But I super liked her. They also have Ginny working on her poetry throughout this season.
Yeah,
I like the focus
class.
on her creativity.
Yeah.
And she does get into a class for it. And there's a character that she meets there. And I think ultimately I really like the addition.
I don't. I'm so sorry.
I
don't
it's
know.
problematic for sure, but
I liked
think
them as friends. I never felt the chemistry of any more than that.
Sure. But also, I don't think you're supposed to.
Yeah, it's just an interesting situation.
I also want to say, I think
I thought he was funny.
very
Anytime
fun.
like he met Marcus, it was like that's Mark, or like I don't know. They had a lot of lines where they were like, I forgot.
He has such like a dry humor about him.
Yes, very dry humor, and it's actually kind of refreshing. So it's like I feel like no one else has that dry humor in the show. So
Then there is Austin.
mhm.
I think obviously he looks much older than
Oh my
we last saw
gosh.
him. To a laughable extent for some people. Honestly, for me, it's there. Believe me, it's there.
Yeah.
It doesn't take me out though, and I think that's a testament to this actor, Diesel La Torraco.
Mhm.
What a last name.
It's-
I feel he's I don't know. I feel like he's actually a really good actor.
Oh yeah,
So
I really
I-
don't want him replaced.
So I fear I'm kind of still locked in, no matter even if he has to shave next season.
I just need him to get bigger glasses because that's
Fair.
when the glasses are like bending because they're too small. That's what takes me out. And then when he's in the 3rd grade classroom, that's what takes me out.
Well, but I think all the other kids are the same.
Yeah, but it's just like you're not 3rd graders. It's like it's that knowing they're supposed to be 3rd graders. I used to be a substitute, so I know what 3rd graders look like, and that's not what they look like.
Sure,
so, oh my gosh.
I'm looking through the cast to see if there's anything else. Georgia continues to be a light this season.
Mhm.
Young Georgia is still iconic and really
Mhm.
well cast.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I have to wonder if they do any like if the young and adult actors or actresses do anything together to like mesh their mannerisms
sure.
and I'm sure they do, but I want to see it. Like I want to see it
Mhm.
behind the scenes, like their process. That's fascinating to me. I want to see more behind the scenes of how actors kind of get into the character and get into the world. So,
For sure.
anyways.
I also think the cliffhanger.
Yeah.
The cliffhanger works a lot for me,
Mhm.
and it adds a very interesting question into what the future looks like for this show.
Yeah.
I fear the reveal of what's going to happen is going to be like the next season finale,
Yeah.
and then
I don't because I know they're only confirmed as far as I've heard for one more season,
Mhm.
but I haven't heard that like that's the final season.
Sure.
So I don't know, but I have heard the writers are also like, I don't know either what's gonna happen. Like I'd be heartbroken if it was this, and I'd be really excited if it was this, but you know I just don't know yet until we dive into that world again.
Crazy
So
talk.
yeah, no, they could be just like lying, but.
They could be those jerks.
But yeah, I've heard some authors of books I like talk about their process, and it's like y'all are really sad about sometimes when I kill characters off, which that doesn't apply to Ginny and Georgia right now. This is totally different. But and then it's like it just comes to you. Like I didn't write the book with the intention of killing this character off. It was just one of those scenarios where as I was writing, I like started crying because I realized this character had to die, kind of thing, which is so interesting to me because it's like you have full control, but also maybe you don't. Maybe you just like dive into the world and forget that you're writing it, and it's like it's happening to you,
Sure.
which I would find
That's
very
a very
interesting.
interesting idea of looking at creativity.
Yeah, so I don't know. That's very fascinating to me. Maybe that's what's happening with them, and it's like just as they're writing, they like.
Well, I think there's also, in this case, there's a
Figure it out.
writer's room to kind of work with as
Yeah,
well on it.
you can bounce off multiple people instead of just yourself. So, yeah,
And
very
then
interesting.
there's also a very, I would say, almost surprisingly progressive storyline in the middle of this one.
Yeah,
And I'm,
yeah,
you know, and I applaud the cast and crew here for the stance they take on it.
yeah.
I think I'm very glad they did,
Especially
especially
right
in the
now.
times we live in.
Yep,
So,
totally agree.
super liked that? I think that's all the pros I can think of off the top of my head without getting into spoiler talk.
I think so too.
So a lot of great stuff this season.
Mhm.
We could get more into specifics, but it gets into spoiler territory. So
Yeah.
I think let's go into our non-spoiler cons.
Yeah.
I know we talked about the big one, which is that all of the men this season,
We're kind of insufferable.
it's
Or
crazy.
at least not at their best. Gil, of course, he was always going to be insufferable.
Correct.
They do stuff with Paul that you're going to hate him. Zion's has his moment where you kind of hate him. I feel like I come around to what they're doing. But yeah, in the moment, you're supposed to hate what he's doing.
Yeah.
So, and then Joe's a perfect king. Like, he could do no wrong. So, I loved that I just love that they have him and that they thought about having them meet when they were younger and then the sunglasses kind of connecting them. I love that. Ugh. And that's why she, like, moved to the town. So great. Or thought about
Wild.
moving to the town. Whatever. But, yeah, it sometimes gets a lot. And I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm bothered by it from a writing perspective, but I can see, like, because I think you said you were ish.
To what?
Like, to the butchering of the male characters.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know. They're clearly trying to make Georgia feel alone a lot throughout this season.
Yeah.
And I think specifically for some of these characters, like, they needed a lot more roll up to where they ended up.
Mm-hmm.
I would say Zion maybe the least so, and Gil is always going to be Gil. But
Yeah.
I think specifically with Austin, and then with Nick, his employee in the office,
Mm-hmm.
like those two characters specifically, I think it's crazy that literally last season I loved both characters, and then here it's like cool. I could never see them again, and that would be like the best option.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate that you make me feel that way.
I don't know. I feel like I could kind of see the crumbs in Paul. I could see the potential there. And that's why there's a line that Georgia says to him when he does something that really shocks her, where he basically blames her for his bad actions, saying, "You bring out the worst in people." And she says, "I never put something in you that wasn't already there."
Sure.
And I love that line because it's true. Because the seeds, I feel like I saw the seeds of potential. He just gives the energy to me of a guy that is great when things are great.
Sure.
But then when things turn bad, he still tries to be great, but when things turn bad for him, that's when he's out.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also influenced by other people to leave. And it's like that, I mean, it's still your choice though. So I think the seeds were still there for you to choose to leave. Like, you just needed to hear somebody say that you should leave to give you the excuse, to like take the blame off you. I don't know. I can see the seeds there, and then especially when George's is something that really pisses him off, like, I can see how he would build up to that. No, obviously not that I would agree with that. But I don't know. I feel like I get the vibes. I can see the seeds that were there. I do think it happens a little fast. I wish it was...
There's a specific and a spoiler reason why I feel
Okay.
this doesn't work, and it's
Yeah.
a line he specifically says about like
Mhm.
what he knows and when he knows it, and it's like,
Oh.
okay, cool. So that wasn't the line drawn for
Mhm.
you, and I guess
Interesting. I feel like I'm close to knowing what you're talking about,
Sure,
but I
and
don't.
we'll get
But
more
I
into the
yeah, I want to
spoilers,
get
but
into
overall-
it for sure.
I don't know.
It's a decision, and they can't go back.
They
so
cannot go back.
no.
And then I'm gonna kind of get around this one that you have. We talked about there being a trial,
Yeah.
and it feels like it's not approached in the best way. Honestly, a lot of the time. Like,
yeah.
it feels like they try to have it be grounded and realistic with the crazy or high personality Georgia.
Yeah.
But it feels like even the stuff they're trying to be like, this is how law works. It's like, is it? Because I unfortunately feel like I could be doing a better job here.
Yeah.
And you never want your audience to feel like that.
No.
At least not unless you're being very intentional. Like if there's like if there's sabotage in the trial or something like that. But that's not the case.
No, it's quite the opposite. Her lawyer, Paul's paying him a lot of money to represent Georgia. A lot. So
and there's just clear, very easy get arounds to the things that are like freezing their case up. And it's like, but no, do this.
Yeah.
This is a very clear thing that you've already been setting up. And that is just a little aggravating.
I agree. Totally agree with that. I also put Wolf as boring. So I guess I don't dislike him. I just find him a little boring. I think he's fine as a friend. I would be cool if he was in season 4, if she kept going to the poetry class. I don't know how that's going to work. But if she did, I wouldn't be mad because I think like he adds a humor that we don't really see with the other characters. I don't know.
I fear he's like a one. I fear that might be a little bit. I don't think we'll see him again.
I'd be okay.
I fear he might be like a 1 episode character going forward.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like I'd be okay with that, with just like a little or nothing, whatever. So
no, but I also think he also speaks to something very real among that population these days, which is like taking things very light, and like almost the over casual attachment style that people have these days.
Or I forgot what he says. Are you talking
That's
about
wild.
his? Oh yeah! Oh my gosh.
But we will definitely get more into that in the spoiler talk. But
yes, yeah.
But I thought for his purpose here, I thought he was very fun, and I thought he served his purpose very well.
Yeah. Okay, so I have not edited this, so this is still my like high attention comments. I really can't say much about this though, because this is getting into the things that happen with Max. Let's just say there's a storyline with Max where she's trying to support Ginny all season, and they're just not really clicking, and they're not hanging out, they're not coming together, and Max is dealing also with stuff with Marcus. Nobody's there for her. And there's just a disconnect there, and I think the way it's handled really frustrates me. I don't know. It's hard to, again, like some of my cons, it's hard to say it's like a detriment to the show, but it just makes me feel crappy. It's supposed to, though. So it's, I don't know. Like, I didn't want to put it in the pro, but it's not really like this brings the show down. It's just frustrating to discuss, and I hope they get around to discussing this next season. So, but I don't know. They're also high schoolers, so maybe not.
Sure.
Oh, at some point, I don't know if I can say this.
I would say probably not, but
yeah.
We'll get deeper into the talk of this.
Okay.
In the spoilers section.
With the school thing. Anyways. The whole... Oh, yeah. And then I feel like, a lot of people have a lot to say about Gen Z and this generation. And I feel like one of the most valid complaints is that we have such a I don't owe anyone anything mindset. And I've seen that so much from my generation, whether in real life or on like represented on TV shows. And not all the time, like not with my friends now, but used to be past friends. And then in this show, I feel like a lot of characters have I don't owe you anything. And I'm like, actually, I feel like you owe people human decency and empathy, especially when they used to be your friend and like you claimed to work through that. It's like they're going through something horrible. I feel like you do owe them like an I'm sorry or like I'm here for you. It's like you don't owe them a friendship, but you owe them an explanation if you're going to ghost them. And I don't know. It's frustrating. It's like I feel like you actually do owe something to people on a human level, human decency. Like, if they've done, if, like, you claim to be in a good place. So, I don't know. That's been frustrating to me, and
I want to circle back to this with some specific examples.
Okay, yeah. It's specifically one conversation between Max and Jenny.
Sure.
Towards the end.
Okay.
That's when I was like, I really hate this, like, nonchalant thing that Jenny has going on. I'm like, she deserves more than that. Like, I don't know. It was frustrating to see.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, it's because Max did have her moment where she was pretty horrible to specifically Ginny and Abby last season. And I'm not going to sit here and excuse that. But they've all said and done horrible things to each other at different times. And one of them specifically, Nora,
yes.
I think her name
Nora
is.
throughout this season specifically, the reason, if there is a fault in Max's storyline, it's the fact that Nora was treated any better than Max was.
Yeah, I totally agree. Because it's just hypocritical at that point to say, like, any complaint you have about Max regarding how she treated you last season or, being supportive, not supportive, you have to say the same thing about Nora because she was right there with her. Nora's such like I'm jumping to whoever's leading the friend group. Like, I don't care. I'm not going to form my own opinion. Mm-hmm. She's a coward. And I think they've said that in the show and they've pointed that out. But then it's like they're forgetting that now when it's convenient to them, and it's frustrating to watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I think that's a big problem. And I think overall, I like what they're doing with Max. I think it's a very real thing. And I think it's done rather authentically. But that's just a clearing, problem with what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say that they owe her a friendship, that they need to be friends with her just because she's being nice now and supportive. I'm not saying that because that's not true. Like, but you can't just turn around and also be friends with Nora. Like, that's crazy. So, I don't know. Especially when she was, like, the one riding against you this whole season. Still, as she was actively friends with you, was behind her back talking crap about your mom.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of crazy. Even Abby was like, yeah, like, I don't know. And Max was like, guys, Ginny's our friend. She was like the only one with a brain, with a kind brain. And she's the one getting left out. And I think that's frustrating. But, again, I don't think that's like a bad thing in to the show, to the writers. I think that's real. I think that happens. They're high schoolers, so... Just something to think about.
I'm not even super thrown off in saying that what Nora was doing was anything crazy or out of the ordinary. It's just the way that they get over that easier than whatever they have with Max.
Yeah.
And that's just no.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I don't know, man.
That is everything we had. I'm trying to think if I had any other cons. We talked about the younger Ginny casting. Just doesn't look like her.
No.
At all.
It's like, oh, curly, dark hair. We got it. I'm like, no. Actually, she doesn't. Like, the face, not the same at all. Love you, girl. Like, you're really pretty. Like, I would love to see her in something else, but you're not Jenny.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It was just surprising when the casting directors usually do a really good job in this show. So.
Yeah.
What can you do?
Okay, I think we're good to go.
Yeah.
On to the spoiler section.
Spoilers.
So we're going to get a little bit more in-depth into our pros and cons. So you have been warned, getting into spoiler talk of Season 3.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, I think maybe we go back through the list and look at the things we kind of jumped around.
You want to talk about the mental health stuff? Specifically, that last scene with Marcus?
Sure, kick us off.
Do you think that's good? Okay. So we talked a lot about what happens with Marcus this season. I feel like we mostly covered it, except I just want to get a little more detailed into his kind of spiral down. You're stinking up the room. I smell that. That's crazy. Anyways, my cat is
She is talking to the cat, by the way.
Yeah. Sorry. Not Marcus, not Luke. I am talking to my cat. He's a stinky little guy. Anyways, we can sprinkle stuff on it if you want. Anyways, so he starts drinking when he feels bad, and he's kind of leaning towards that alcoholism. Yeah, that's the word. He's hiding alcohol in the garage. Max finds out because I think
Because
Georgia finds out. Georgia goes into the garage since we're in spoiler territory, we can say whatever we want. So Georgia goes into the garage later in the season when she realizes she's going to lose the trial and plans on running away. Because that's her pattern thus far, is running away from her problems. So she goes into their garage to steal Marcus's bike to run away. You're just a stinky little guy. Anyways, I'll fix it in a second.
That's what Georgia says to him.
So, and then she's trying to find his keys. So she's going through the drawers and finds the drawer with alcohol. And then leaves, comes back. That doesn't matter. Basically, Max catches her, and she tells Max, which Max was hilarious in that scene. She was like,
What did I do?
What do I do?
That
Do
was
I tell
so
somebody? Do I
weird.
not? Like, that was so... I don't know what I would do. Because, like, I don't want to get her in trouble, but also she stole my brother's bike. Like, oh my God. Anyways. So, Georgia tells Max to check the drawer, and she does. So that's when Max finds out. She starts sniffing, like, her brother's water bottle. Find out there's alcohol, not water in it. And, like, every event, her play... They're sitting in oh my God, her play. The front row, or the musical. Her parents and her brother are sitting front row, and he's drinking from like a water bottle, Gatorade, something like that. But then she knows it's alcohol. And so it's just like ruining her night. And a lot of stuff just goes down in that play. I also really love the theater. Like I love the hobbies that they have.
It's not their first play that they did. I always really like their play episodes.
Yeah, I agree.
I also really liked the showdown between her, Silver, and her ex. Yeah. I forget her name, but it was all done. I really liked, because throughout the season I was getting the impression that, like, actually I feel like you should not be. I fear Silver is not the move for you, girl.
Yeah.
And I liked where and when it came to a head.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It felt like crazy to, like, hear her talk about how much pressure her parents were putting on her to take care of her brother, and then to find out this entire time you weren't just chiming in or wanting to fix the fact that you were being detrimental to that.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I mean, it's hard because everyone's downplaying what he's doing, even his best friend Silver. It's like you see him constantly drinking to deal with his depression.
And you have to know how much he's doing it because you're the one getting it for him.
Yes. I mean, you're aiding that. You're helping him do that. It's not just like you're sitting by and watching him doing you're actively contributing to that. And that's crazy. And I hate that people are making her feel crazy for that. So I'm glad she got away from that. She said, well, I definitely don't like you anymore. Good for her. I don't like her anymore. I think Silver is a shitty friend. So I'm going to say it. I mean, that's horrible.
Friend and a shitty partner.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane.
I hate that she, like, dresses so well because I'm just like, I want to hate.
That is the only thing you're eating right now.
Eating that outfit. Anyways, yeah. So I'm definitely glad they discussed that. And then so it puts Max in a really, honestly, impossible scenario where she's like, because she tells Marcus, like, you need to stop doing this or, like, I'm going to tell somebody. He says, if you tell anybody, I will never speak to you again. I will hate you. You are not my sister. Like, I'll never speak to you again.
And then she tries to, like, talk about it without saying it to her parents. And they're like, just keep keeping an eye on him. And it's like, what the heck do you guys think is going to happen here? First off, like...
That's crazy.
With her parents, it's like, she's still in high school. Keeping an eye out is one thing, but this kid has some serious issues.
Yeah.
And, like, you're essentially putting that all on her. Mm-hmm. And that is crazy.
It's like, because you don't want to admit that it's as bad as it is, you're just not doing anything. And that's horrible. You have to do something. So,
I
especially
will
as
say
parents.
it almost gets to a point, like the fact that they didn't immediately start looking at things, which is like, he just
Yeah.
needs to go to summer school and it'll be fine. It's like, no, oh my god, no.
Yeah. So it puts her in an impossible scenario. She does eventually tell them at her play.
Mhm.
She says, like, I think she tries to, like, drink his drink, and he's like, no, and then kind of reveals itself. Like, you guys should smell his water bottle, whatever. And then it happens. So in high school, I had a friend. I'm not going to talk very detailed because obviously this is, like, personal, so I don't want to, like, reveal anyone's crap or whatever. But I had a friend in high school that was going through a lot, and he was doing, like, he was dealing with it in a very toxic way, and nobody was really doing anything. Everyone was just like, let's just check in on them, like, whatever. And eventually he tells me something that was really scary. I'm obviously not going to not going to say very detailed stuff, but there's stuff at my school. I don't know how many schools do this, but I'm glad mine did. Where you can text a number and, like, anonymously, like, send stuff in, and then they can get help for them. So that's what I did. And it was, like, kind of that scenario where it was like, I don't want to say anything because what if they hate me, but, like, also,
You
like,
know,
they need
I'm
help.
like 14. What am I supposed to do with this?
Yeah, I was probably like 15, 16 at the time. I don't remember the exact grade or age or whatever. But I was young, and I was like, I don't know how to deal with this, but I know this is not healthy. This is not okay. And I care about my friends. So I care about my friend enough to, like, risk them hating me to, you know, keep them safe and healthy, basically. Yeah. So, yeah. And it helped. It really helped because they went to a facility and took time to get help and figure out what was going on, what was causing it, and how, like, better ways to deal with it. So, and it really helped. And, you know, not every scenario is going to be like that. But I found it really encouraging to see, like, a character go through that. It's hard, not encouraging. It's hard to see that, but I'm glad people are seeing that because I hope it inspires people to do the hard thing and get help for their friends when they need it,
Mm-hmm.
or family or whatever, because that's what's most important.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But I thought that was handled really well on the show. I don't know. I don't know. There's not much to say other than that.
Yeah.
It was
I
handled
think
really
it's all
well.
done really well.
Mm-hmm.
No, and we hate to see it to Max, of all people.
Yeah.
It's just,
Because especially, like, a twin, like, that's everything. Your twin is everything. So, that's just really hard. It's frustrating because her parents could have done something and not put her in that position, but they didn't want to know how bad it was. They were refusing to see it. So, and then Marcus's last scene where he's breaking down and freaking out about what's happening to him, and you can just see that he is aware of how bad it is, but it's like he doesn't want to admit that out loud.
Sure.
Like, you can see, like, he knows that it's bad, but it is that toxic thing, like when someone
It's self-destructive.
Yes, like when someone's, you know, has a problem with alcohol, they'll say anything to just keep drinking.
Yeah.
Same with drugs. Like, that's the toxic patterns of, like, no, I'm fine. This is how I'm dealing with it. Like, or, like, I'll stop. Like, they'll throw out anything to prevent you from stopping them from really doing it. So, it's just hard to see it because I love Marcus and I want the best for him. And I hate that it's also happening to Max. And, that whole scene was just so well done, and I just cried and cried and cried. It was so sad. Because I think he started, like, saying, like, I hate me. He said that, like, 20 times. Oh, my gosh. Props to that actor. Chills. But, yeah, that was just really well done. Definitely be warned if you, you know, have struggled with that, because they really dive deep into self-harm, like alcoholism, mental health stuff in this season, for sure. So
Absolutely.
sorry to get heavy, but like this is a heavy season.
It's a very heavy season.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts on that one?
I don't think so. I'm always really appreciative when a show represents mental health really well. Like Heartstopper as well. I think that's so well done. Which that was based off a book or a graphic novel, but still they bring it to life on the screen really well. So
continuing down our list of things we kept vague. Georgia being Georgia, just like doing her hair and makeup in prison, iconic.
so iconic. The toilet paper rolls. How did she do the eyeshadow again? Forgot.
Pencil lead.
Oh, how did she get a pencil?
It was like a mechanical pencil she pulled off the desk.
Oh.
And she had like a hoodie pocket or something like that.
We love to see it.
It was super
and
cool.
she ate that.
And she had like a candy that she used to like put her lipstick on. It was so cool.
Oh, I love it.
What a baddie. And then I liked before that they showed her doing that exact same thing in like the restaurant to get a bunch of stuff for her and her kids.
Yeah.
Super cool. And then the comparison between the two, I loved it so much.
Yeah.
Then Ginny punched Press. Valid.
Because he was such a jerk. I mean, he was asking to get punched. I forgot exactly what he said, but he was basically like, he either said something like, your mom's a murderous mayoress, or like, how does it feel to have a mom who's a murderer, or something like
that.
Your mom's gonna go to jail. Like, it wasn't clever, and it was just straight up rude. Like, that's why I'm like, why are you friends with him? He's never funny mean, like he's never teasing mean. He's always just a straight up jerk. Like, he hates y'all. That's how he treats y'all. It's crazy that they keep him around, and especially now that he's with Samantha. I'm like, that's your chance to be like, good riddance to both of them. So
it's crazy because also like we don't see him having any kind of like meaningful relationship with like anyone, guys included.
No.
Like what is the draw here?
I don't know. It's like, because they talk about going to Brody's basement a lot and hanging out. It's
also,
not even like it's his hangout.
Also, speaking of Brody, my boss was like, and then there's that kid Brody who like has a receding hairline already.
Oh my god, a gag. That's
like,
crazy.
You know what? It's not horrible, but you know, it's there.
Yeah.
It's not where it was season 1.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy. What a drag. Love your boss for that.
What else did we kind of go over? Ooh, Zion. So I think Zion is a great talking point.
Yes. Oh
so
my God.
at the beginning, he's a lot in the season because his mom comes in trying to help out. We see a lot more of the conversation of her trying to take Ginny from Georgia and to take custody.
Yeah.
Which, you know.
She's been trying to do, like, she was basically like, I know y'all are so broke and I'll help you, but I need to have custody of Ginny. Which is crazy. Obviously, Georgia was like, no, because the second you have it, like, you're going to kick me out. Mm-hmm. Which is so true.
Very, very valid.
So true.
So, and then here you see
an evil
kind
woman.
of like some kind of aim at a redemption arc. I will say it feels really weird that this is where you would give that. Like, why now, like, at her lowest is going to be when she starts, like, you know, being like, you know what, I won't take custody. And then throughout the season, you see her literally lose custody. And you don't see her coming in to be like, now's my chance. Mm-hmm. It's like that feels almost inconsistent.
Yes. It's like, I don't believe you that she's not a snake. She is a snake. That's how you wrote her. Like, ugh, I hate that they're going back on that and trying to be like, well, she's not that bad. No, she is. And that's okay. It's okay. Let people be bad. You do that with Gil. Let her be bad too. It's okay. There can be villains in a show. It's okay. But I don't know.
Yeah. And then Zion kind of, we have that PI come in
Mm-hmm.
and talk about how she's a serial killer. And then Gil convinces Zion to be like, we gotta get the kids out of the house. And, you know, that is the point where we kind of have to have that conversation of, oh, did Zion never know that Gil was abusive? We know that they never liked each other. I guess I always presumed that was because he knew about how bad that was. But apparently not. Apparently it was just because he went to prison. Way to step on him.
He literally ran under my foot.
Mm.
I had to, like, step on my toes and nothing
Sure.
else.
But
Crazy. You're crazy for that.
But it is crazy. And then it kind of is the idea that your kid doesn't seem to believe all of this.
Mm-hmm.
But there is an understanding at some point. And I think the idea that Gil is feeding into that idea because, you know, you hear something super outlandish that everyone else is taking seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's always going to be a part of you that's going to be like, so how fathomable can it be that this was real? And ultimately, you know, it all was real.
Yeah.
So obviously there's, you know, that nuanced conversation missing from it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think that conversation happens in a court of law. But, you know, I think his initial response, at least with the chiming in from an outside source
Mm-hmm.
like Gil, and to be fair, Georgia doesn't have any great answers to relieve any of those, you know, burning questions.
Yeah.
But I can see where that came from, and it's one of those things where I can see where it came from, but it sucks ultimately that Gil got Austin,
Yeah.
and that's
It's just...
it's a horrible place. It's supposed to be a horrible place, and
Yes.
in real life it would be a horrible place.
Yeah.
and honestly would have ended much worse than what we got. So
Mhm. Yeah.
it's crazy.
It's just... I don't know. It's
And-
just so frustrating that he did that. It's like... I understand that you're freaking out because you found this out and you're jumping to conclusions. But it's like... You didn't know this before, so maybe let's take a step to figure out what else we don't know. Let's have some conversations. I don't know, talk to Georgia about what happened.
Mhm.
You could even, if you think that something really bad happened, like Austin just shot him because Georgia influenced him, talk to her and say that and see her reaction. And then you can tell if it's like, oh shit, he got me,
And
or
that's
like, no, like, let me tell you what happened.
That's another thing that I think Zion and not Austin,
Yeah.
Paul have, where it's like they know some things, and they like, even though it's not ever confirmed for them, they treat it as fact, but then they don't like follow up on it. Where it's like, so this happened. Why did this happen? It's like, nope, that
Yeah.
happened, so she's the problem. And it's like, well, but why does someone choose to murder someone? Like, that's what I
Yeah.
was saying earlier with Paul, where it's like, he admits to, like, I didn't have to question, I never asked you if you were guilty because I knew you were guilty. And it's like, cool. So you believed for a long time that she killed these people, and you didn't, like, and you didn't leave. You stayed in that household, and you let the kids stay in that household. But you didn't want to ask why.
Yeah.
And it's like, so the idea that she murdered someone wasn't what drew the line. If you truly believed that she killed someone,
That's true. That's a good point.
That's such a like a. It's so weird to be like. So where was the line
Yeah. Because
before
at least
you left the first time?
Yeah, because at least with Joe, like, when he says, like, screw it, and then is with her anyways, it's after he finds out everything.
Yeah.
So it's like, then he knows all the cards are on the table. So, I don't know. If it was like a thing where, I just don't understand. Yeah. I think that's a good point about Paul, for sure. I think it's very frustrating to see. But honestly, Zion just has been a frustrating character to me. I don't know. I did like where the conversation went once they actually had one, like the
Whenever
therapy
he gets
session.
custody of Ginny, I really enjoyed the immediate like, oh yeah, parenting ain't that, being a single parent isn't easy, is it, Zion?
Yeah.
It's really easy to judge when you're off doing concerts in Spain.
Yeah. It's crazy how, like, when Georgia was raising them, you were traveling and, like, living your life. Kind of crazy.
No, I super love the look at that. And then
Anyways. And then her, like, Ginny constantly running away, and then him calling Georgia to figure out where she is. I'm like, yeah. Because you weren't here. You weren't a present parent.
Mhm.
You were a backseat parent. So...
And I think there's an interesting conversation with, he starts learning some of these things. He obviously doesn't have the context, but...
Mm-hmm.
And then he, has conversations with Ginny about, like, and it's an interesting idea of, like, I'm going to start being a good parent now.
Yeah.
And, obviously, I think I'm of the mindset where it's never too late to start doing the right thing.
Yeah.
However, there's do's and don'ts when you start doing the right thing. And
You
one of
don't
the biggest
immediately
don'ts...
take away custody.
Well, one of the biggest don'ts is you don't, blame someone for how they reacted when you weren't there.
Yeah.
Because, you could have had so much input if you were there.
Yeah.
So...
I agree.
And I can forgive the show for that because they have Ginny literally say that to him.
Yeah.
So it's all very intentional,
they're very
and
aware.
I really like that message.
Yeah. It's like you can't just come in and swoop in now, especially about stuff you don't have full context about, and just be a present parent and act like you were always a present parent, because you weren't. She was here. It's like when I started to, when she started to self-harm, she was here for me. And I think I forgot if he found out first. But it's like she's actively there to talk me down from that, and was again this season. It's like, because you're not here. So, and then that's just like the whole pattern with Zion, is he's not there when she needs him. And it's like, you don't, like just exactly what you said. You don't get to decide how I react to something like when you weren't there. So,
now I will say
kind of crazy.
I don't know. Maybe I'm biased because I come from a blended family where I, jump between custody, back and forth every year. But I actually like Zion, like having partial custody.
Oh yeah, I do too.
Because I think it's very interesting. I think this season really highlights the similarities that Ginny has between her dad and her mom. Yeah. And I think it's really cool that you can so clearly see the lines there. Yeah. And, ultimately I think Zion feeds into her creativity, and, I can see a lot of him in, like, how she, like, is around her friends, and I think that's awesome for her. So, and especially after this season has her be a lot more like her mom. Yeah. I feel this is, probably a little for the best.
Yeah. I agree. Because it's just frustrating, because it's like, yeah, you should have partial custody, but you also should have stepped up way earlier and gotten partial custody. But I don't know. It's like what you said. It's never too late, but you have to handle it in a certain way if you're late to the party, basically.
So, if you're showing up late to the party, you have to bring, like, the refill of chips.
Exactly.
You have to, like, call in and be like, do we need any more drinks?
Like, yes, exactly. So, yeah, I agree.
So, to Paul. A little bit more into Paul. Yeah. I think there's also an element into him where it's like, so you thought you could handle a baddie, and here's the consequences of not being able to handle a baddie. Yes. This is where you're at living with your parents.
He's very much giving, I want a baddie, but I can't handle her.
It is so
That's
giving
exactly
that.
what it is. It's like, but you can't handle it because you're a man-child. It's crazy.
Is it useless?
So sorry for that. Anyways.
But
I'm not a singer. Oh, Ricky. No, I'm just kidding. It's fine.
I don't know. And then
Anyways,
so he then is kind of tricked back into the vein by the fake pregnancy,
yeah.
which, you know, later the season finale is that she's pregnant.
She actually is pregnant. Mm-hmm.
So, and the question is if it's Joe or if it's Paul's.
Mm-hmm. Because her and Joe get together.
Wow.
Woo! And Joe punches Gil. Love him for that.
What a baddie. So real.
Like right after
And he always
finds
plays
out-
Princess Peach in Mario Kart.
Yes,
Also
I
so
love
real.
that for you, King. You can have Princess Peach all day long. So
Non-negotiable.
Hey, that's valid. So
valid.
Mm-hmm.
But
I don't know.
it's so
I don't know. I am interested in this what they do with the storyline either way.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like it's gonna be dramatic either way.
It feels like if Paul is the dad, then it's just like it's the show continuing its patterns that it's always had.
Mm-hmm.
If it's Joe, then I feel we're breaking the cycle a little.
Yeah. Oh, do we know she's gonna keep it?
We don't. But then again, I don't know if she would.
Probably would.
I would assume she would.
I would be
But
shocked.
it is an
if she didn't.
interesting point after Ginny's whole plot line with
Yeah.
her pregnancy scare.
Mm-hmm.
I
don't know.
It is interesting. I feel like if they were gonna make it the cliffhanger, because I also just
feel
had
like
the
they
thought
have
of
to
like,
keep it.
would they be like, nope, I guess I just really wanted milk and I'm not pregnant. Crazy. Like that would be super lazy. I feel
Oh,
like that
yeah.
would be in the same vein of like, cool. Woo! It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Glad that didn't actually happen or pan out in any way. Yeah, I agree. Since the cliffhanger, I feel, and it's just I don't know. I think Georgia, like, even though she supports that, it's just like
It is choice.
Yeah.
So, you know, ultimately, she had Ginny and she had Austin, and she, you know, they're her rock.
yeah,
So I can see regardless her wanting it,
yeah, me too.
wanting
So.
to keep it. So,
Oh my gosh,
but
we just gotta wait for the baby to pop out, and we'll know whose it is.
and then it's gonna.
So
I'm trying to think what the funniest thing would be. I don't know.
twins. No, I'm just
Oh
kidding.
my god! Oh,
One of each.
my God.
And that's not how it works.
That's
but
hilarious.
that's not how it works. But that would be really funny.
Oh Lord.
That'd be like the She-Hulk finale where it's really funny for like 5 minutes and then it's like, oh, that sucked. Like, oh my god, wait.
No,
Because
for
after
real.
that She-Hulk finale, I was like, oh my god, that was so funny. And then I thought about it the next day and I was like, oh, that was bad. That was actually really bad. In the moment, I was gagged, but now I'm like, ooh.
Her going through the Disney Plus screen, amazing.
Oh,
Iconic.
yeah.
Keep that in no matter what
That
the
was
finale
really
looks like.
great.
But then everything else is like,
Yeah. The whole, like, we're going to spend this entire episode telling you we're not going to do what the other shows have done.
We're just not going to do
like,
anything.
We're just not going to do anything. Eat that. So, anyways, back to this show.
Absolutely. So,
Oh, and then Paul almost hitting Georgia was kind of crazy.
yeah.
Oh my god, the way she played that reaction, crazy. I mean, you could like feel her fear, and she didn't say anything. It's just like the little vein. What a nice touch. Props to the people who have the little vein that could pop out when they want it to on the forehead, because it eats every time. I fear, so yeah. Anyways, and then yeah, that's another line I'm gonna really take away from this season is I never put something in you that wasn't already there. So
Yeah.
it's like I did something horrible to you, but then you chose to handle it in this way. You could have not, but you did. And it's like he didn't quite get to the point of actually hitting her, but it was definitely too much.
Mhm.
And so it's like when abusers and manipulators blame you for their actions, it's like, those were your actions. At the end of the day, somebody can do and say the most horrible thing to you, and you have the choice to walk away. And you didn't. And a lot of times it's, from nothing. This time, I mean, he was pissed off
There was
for a
something.
good reason, but he handled it super poorly. So, yeah.
And, there's that also ultimate irony where now that she is pregnant, I guess regardless on if she took that if it was his or not, if she took the pregnancy test, it would have showed pregnant.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
Mm-hmm. But, I mean, Kat's already out of the bag that she did lie.
Yeah.
So, wonder how that's going to go. Like, when she starts showing and can't hide it anymore, however she chooses to handle that, he's definitely going to be like, are you well, because she's not lying. You'll be able to tell at some point that she's not lying. So, also, people are saying she might run for mayor. How do you feel about that? Or Joe?
I really thought that her running for mayor was going to be what the season finale was. The
Yeah.
mayoral murderess running for mayor. Like, that's its
Yeah.
own story.
Mm-hmm.
So, and honestly, they made a really good point throughout this season showing that, like, a lot of Paul's success came directly from her. So,
The whole, like,
the jackhammer.
Jackhammer storyline, chef's kiss. That was, some like blonde lady told me to do this for a few hours. I'm like, that's genius, and I love her for that. And honestly, she needs to be mayor. She would eat that up.
Like, that, I was really
So.
expecting that to be what the finale was. Or, like, what the, like, I'm officially running for mayor.
Yeah.
Yes. Or whatever.
I don't know. I wouldn't be mad if they still did that in season 4, but we'll see. They didn't actually
officially do that.
officially tease it.
But I
The
fear
crumbs are there if they want to.
I
But
fear that's a really easy pickup and a really
Yeah.
great thing to be like her plot line that season, the next season.
yeah.
I kind of want to transition back a little bit to Ginny and her pregnancy scare.
Yeah.
So, obviously I am not in the demographic that has to worry about pregnancy scares from any angle.
Mm-hmm.
So, how did that feel coming from the female perspective?
The female perspective? I don't know. It was one of those things where I was kind of shocked, especially with growing up with Georgia, that she didn't have condoms and did that anyway. That felt really, I think Georgia calls her out on that. She's like, why did you do that? Like,
JoJo, did you learn
nothing?
nothing?
No, honestly though, it's kind of close for me to getting to the point of out of character.
I would agree. But I think it's also a point where it's self-destructive.
Yeah,
Which...
that's true. And again, you're a teenager and you don't have as good a judgment. And so, especially if you're all feeling somebody and about to have sex, you're probably not thinking about responsible things. So, it's not a total stretch, which is why I'm not just totally writing it off. But I do think it rides a little too close to that line.
I think another part of why it feels a little close to that line is because both characters are also incredibly smart.
Yeah, well, and it could have been something else very easily of the condom broke or, something else where they were trying to be responsible but something messed up. Because I think she said that she was on birth control but then forgot to take it.
Yes, because she got taken out of the house.
Yeah. And it's birth control, you still have to use condoms. Or you still should. You don't have to do anything. But
it's the safest
it's
thing.
the safest thing. Be on.
If you learn anything from this
control.
episode,
Yeah.
it's
Wrap
that rascal.
Take a plan B the next day.
Sure. Yeah.
So, if something happens, so even the broken condom, you could have the next day gotten a plan B, but whatever. She finds out she's pregnant because they all take a pregnancy test. Because I think does Abby want to, or I forgot who.
Nora's late on her period.
Oh,
and as
yes.
soon as they were all we're all gonna take it, I'm like, oh god.
Yeah, because one of them's gonna be pregnant. Hi, you're so cute.
Hey.
He's almost settled down right here for now. Anyways, he's such a cuddler. I love it. Anyways, yeah, I thought it was handled really well, and it was interesting to see Georgia's reaction. She's like, no, I'm not hearing this right now. No, you're not turning it to me right now. And then also her going by herself. But then I think, is that when Georgia has a conversation with Marcus? And is that when the conversation happens where she's like, I know you still love her?
I think it's a separate day.
Okay, I can't remember, but somehow Marcus ends up going to find her. I thought that's because Georgia pushed him to go.
She broke into it because she got into his room.
Yeah, which that was so funny. She's like, I can't believe you're doing this. It's so dangerous, or something like that. Oh, that was so funny. And he's like, hi. Hey.
His reactions this season are also so funny.
Yeah. He does a great job, that actor. I hope he gets more work. So, I hope a lot of these actors get more work.
Absolutely.
Anyways, yeah, I thought that was handled really well. And it shows that it's, because people think it's this malicious thing, and it's not. It's, it's just, at the end of the day, it's a choice. And especially, like, because I know people get more tense once it gets, like, later on in the pregnancy and it happens. But this is, like, really early. So, I'm glad it happened early, because I feel like that can maybe get a little more people to think about it than if it was, like, further along.
Sure.
Like, I'm surprised with the pit that I haven't heard anything about that storyline, because technically it was illegal. So I'm surprised I haven't heard more people talk about it.
Sure.
But yeah, I thought it was handled really well. I thought it was really sweet that Marcus was there with her, and just the conversation with the doctor. And it is a sad thing, but it's not a malicious thing. And I feel like people just think about it as if women go out and just get a ton of abortions all the time, and that's not how it is. And it's not easy. It is hard. It's mentally draining, even if it's the right thing to do. So I'm glad they showed that. So
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
glad they showed that with the kid too. So put it into perspective.
Yeah, I completely agree. Next, I kind of want to move towards Austin and Gil.
Okay.
So here, I think there's an interesting point of showing that, Austin still feels some kind of connection with his dad.
Yeah.
And, ultimately, he, puts Gil and frames Gil for the murder of Cynthia's husband.
Yeah.
And
'cause Ginny forces him, basically says, pick which parent you're going to back. So,
and this is also, Gil was about to move him away from his family.
yeah.
So,
It's hard because he doesn't know. He does know that Gil is not a good guy, has done some stuff, probably knows that he's been abusive to Georgia, or at least probably suspects because of that confrontation when
Yes.
Austin shot him. That's because he was getting in his mom's face and being scary. So he definitely knows that he's capable of that. But I think the key thing here is Ginny knows that Gil would get abusive with him because he was with her.
Sure.
Because he grabbed her arm and left a giant bruise. Austin doesn't know that. And I think that's going to be important. I hope he finds that out. Because it is, easy for... Even Georgia is like, well, he's not... You know what? He's not going to hurt you. But he could. And he would eventually. I truly believe that. And I think it was very intentional to have him hurt Ginny. But Austin not know about that. And
she showed him.
Oh, she did?
Yes.
Oh, I thought he didn't know about that. Okay. Interesting. So that does add another layer then. Because I thought it was going to be like the discovery.
No, because
It's different when it happens to you, I'd imagine. Especially as a kid. As a kid, it's easy to imagine, well, I have a great time with him.
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't know. Ultimately, he chose Georgia, so we'll see how that pans out.
And he clearly feels some sort of way about, I think not necessarily choosing Georgia, but being put in that choice. Because also, regardless of the reason, he also knows that Georgia has hurt people.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
I think it's a lot to wrap your head around, especially so young.
Mm-hmm.
So and I feel season 4 is going to be really a really great season for him.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he is ready for his moment, and I'm excited to see what they do with that. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, because he's the most like, I don't know what he's gonna do kind of character. So I'm excited for that. It's like an unknown element.
Absolutely. I'm trying to think if we missed anyone else.
Definitely Max, but I wanted to see if, because that's a pretty big one. So I wanted to, if there's any smaller people.
Oh, I did also want to get into specifics. Abby and Triss, love.
Yes.
Absolutely love.
Hey. Anyways, let me say something.
What a freak.
Happy Pride.
What a freak. Yeah, I think that's one of the last talking points.
Yeah. Do you want to get into Max?
Wait, no, I had one more actually.
Okay.
So we earlier said that we think that the trial thing was handled horribly.
Yeah.
Whenever
I hated that lawyer's
when-
acting.
Whenever
But also the
the
writing.
private investigator came in, it was like, she's a serial killer. And they were like, well, we can't believe that because you're a stalker and you're harassing and lying to everyone. So you're just kind of crazy, man. And then Ginny's video went viral. And then they freaked out about that.
Yeah.
I fear there was a really easy way to kind of get around that
Yeah.
publicity thing by admitting the fact that she wrote that after this person that the public has admitted is stalking her and harassing her and approached her daughter
Yeah.
alone and
Yeah.
told her all of these things that he told the court, which were inadmissible, and then she wrote that poem based off of that. I feel like there's a really easy slant there.
Yeah. A lot of people freaked out. And I agree with that. They could have just gone online.
It
I
could have
don't know.
been...
Or if for some reason they couldn't, like in the writer's mind, if they thought about that but didn't go with that, they needed to say why. I think.
But I agree. Because it's an easy thing to be like, cool, put her on the stand.
Yeah. I agree.
As, like,
I'm surprised she never went on
A
the
character
stand.
witness in some capacity. I mean, if you're able to put Austin up there, you
Yeah.
have to be able to put Jenny up there.
Yeah. I don't know. Kind of crazy.
Yeah. So that's the last thing I had before the Max conversation.
Okay.
So I'm down to get right into that.
Let's get into Max. So Max has been Ginny's best friend for a while. But then Ginny, behind her back, got with her brother. I haven't seen the first two seasons in a while. I did not rewatch them before this one. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, this is what happened. Each detailed thing, because I don't remember. I don't remember how it all went down. But I remember the important things was that Ginny and Marcus were getting together for a while behind Max's back. Probably, I think, because Max is making comments like, you gross, my brother, or whatever. I mean, like, I feel like that's anytime you're, you like your best friend's sibling, like, that would be an awkward conversation, obviously.
Sure.
But they never have that conversation, and she just finds out she's really mad at them.
Yeah.
Really mad at them. Mostly that I think because they did it behind her back and lied about it. Not just that it happened, but
Sure.
also probably partially because it happened. Because, I've had some friends that are twins, and, when you're treated differently, like, I feel like Max is treated as if she doesn't go through stuff and doesn't feel stuff, and it's just like not the problem child, like the angel child that they don't have to worry about, so they don't pay attention to as much as the quote-unquote problem child, which in this case would be Marcus, even though it's not like he's just being a jerk, like he's struggling, but they pay a lot more attention to him, and so maybe to her it felt like she finally has like a friend that pays attention to her. It's just her, like she's finally like the center of something. That's probably why she has such a loud personality. She's aching for attention.
Sure.
So, but she's also tries to be very supportive of her friends as well, and maybe she pushes a little too much with that. But anyways, so then when she finds out that not only is her best friend, like not just her best friend, she's now dating her brother. They also did it behind their back. So she's like the ultimate betrayal for her. However, she handles it really poorly in a very toxic way.
Indeed.
It's okay to be upset. Absolutely. It's okay to take time to process that. Maybe not even become friends with her again if you don't want to. But I would just say straight up, like, bullies her and pits people against her in the second season. And it turns pretty ugly. But she's also mean to Abby because Abby, I think, doesn't want to treat Ginny that way. And so Max is like, good riddance then. Like, you know, even though the three of them, Max, Nora, and Abby grew up together, it's like she just throws her away because she's like, well, fine, you go with Ginny then, and I'll have Nora. And Nora's, I don't know, for whatever reason, I guess because Max feels more in charge, she goes with Max. Nora doesn't have opinions of her own, which is really annoying. Mm-hmm. And I think she's just as mean to them, if I remember.
Probably.
I don't know. Anyways, so season 2 is pretty rough for Max. And you don't really like her and how she treats Ginny.
But they reconcile in season 2 at the very end.
Yes. They make up. And they're, as far as we know, on good terms. So then going into season 3, when Ginny's mom is accused of murder, and Max has had conversations with Georgia as well. Like, she's spoken about she loves Georgia. Like, Georgia's an icon in her eyes. Like, she wishes Georgia was her mom. Like, all this stuff. So she is very, like, immediately, we have to be there for Ginny. Like, this is horrible. This is traumatic. Like, we have to be there for Ginny. Trying to rally the friend group to do that. And Abby, but especially Nora, is like, I don't know. Like, her mom's a murderer. Like, I don't, that's scary, and I don't want to support her.
With Abby, I think it's, because Nora's definitely in the vein of, like,
yeah,
being against her off the bat.
Yeah.
But also, like, she specifically gets weird about Ginny way too off the bat because, like, her mom's on trial, not her.
Yeah.
And, you're not your parent.
Yeah.
I will say Abby doesn't get weird about it until the whole serial killer thing comes out.
Yeah.
And then then it's whenever the poem comes out. And it's like,
yeah,
that is a lot. Mm-hmm. And I can understand feeling some way about that.
Yeah.
But I feel that's the only place she wavers.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes Abby is what they think press is, where she's like a funny jerk. Like, she's, I don't know. She's never, I feel like, to me, she usually doesn't go too far. Mm-hmm. She's just kind of like the teasy kind of jerk. Maybe says the wrong thing, but, like, doesn't mean it in a horrible way like Press would.
Sure.
Nora's very much like, I'm not going to have a backbone, and I'm just like, no, I'm going to believe that she's a serial killer, and for some reason takes that out on Ginny. Like, also feels that way about Ginny. Like you said, it's weird. But Max kind of keeps pushing and gets them around to support Ginny. And then throughout the season, you don't see a lot of Ginny and Max interact almost at all.
Well, because very actively Ginny's hanging out with other people instead of her.
Yeah. So Ginny starts hanging out with Bracia, I think her name is, and then somebody else. Bracia's boyfriend. I don't remember his name. Anyways, those people and Wolf from the poetry class. So she kind of has her own little friend group there, which that in itself would be fine. But then her, Abby, and Nora start hanging out. And Ginny goes with Abby to dinner or lunch or whatever with Abby's dad and his current girlfriend or whatever, because Abby doesn't want to go, but she'll go if Ginny goes. And then Abby's mad at her dad, and the three of them go and egg his house. And then the next day at lunch, Max is hanging out with them, and I think they're already sitting together, and then Max comes to them.
Yes.
Which that's another layer, because they're already eating lunch together, not with Max. She joins them, and then it slips that they went to egg her dad's house, and she's like, well, I don't know any of this, first of all, and you guys hung out without me. And they're immediately like, Max, don't be mad. Like, oh, I really didn't like Abby in that scene. A lot of Abby's lines to Max made me really dislike her, actually.
There was a line where it's like, we just didn't want to make you feel like you were
left out.
It was like, but you did leave me out.
But you did leave me out. And that's true. It's like, but you did. And again, it's not like Ginny's going off and just having her own friend group. It's like everyone's still friends except for Max. Max is like left out of that. And it's frustrating because it's like, if something was going on and you're having frustrations and you weren't voicing it and just like going off and doing your own thing, that's one thing. But that's not what was happening. Like, it felt like nothing was happening and that they were on good terms. They just weren't hanging out. It didn't feel like there was a reason that they weren't hanging out. Mm-hmm. If anything, there felt like there was a reason that they should be hanging out because Max was being so supportive and checking in on everybody all the time. But then in Max's episode, it really comes to a head where she's having a horrible time with the Marcus situation, and she's going online seeing pictures of them together, and eventually they go to this party at Brody's basement house, whatever, house in his basement, and where they always hang out. And she talks to Ginny and is like, what's going on? Something's going on. What's going on? And Ginny's just so nonchalant about it. She's like, I think we just drifted apart. But I just don't see why. And I feel like when someone's pushing so hard to support you, and you don't want to be friends with them anymore, I think you used to be. And as far as they knew you were on good terms, I think you do. That's when it comes into play with, I think you do owe them a conversation. Mm-hmm. Of like, it's not that I dislike you anymore. It's just I think we're drifting apart and I want to hang out with other people. I think you owe them that.
Sure.
And she was just so nonchalant about it. Like, well, we just drifted apart. Like, that's that. There's nothing more to say. And I really hated that because it's like, but you were like best friends and then you had a really big fight, bad time for a while, and then you came back together, and then it's like, then it was like you're not even friends anymore. It's like, but that's not where we left off. And so it's a very messy situation. And that's why we brought up Nora, because you can't say all that and then still be friends with Nora,
who actively you had an issue against you.
Not only in the second season, but also this season.
Throughout the entirety of this season.
Again, it's like, it's one thing if you're hanging out with Bracia and them, like, that's a separate friend group. Even Abby, because her and Abby really bonded last season because they were in the outs together. But Nora just is the thing that honestly makes it kind of bad writing to me, I would say. Mm-hmm. That's the most frustrating part, and I would say borderline bad writing. So it just doesn't make sense to me, and I don't know where we're going to go from there. I don't know, because especially, like, Max is not with Silver, and I don't think she's with her ex either. I think,
no,
yeah,
she shut down both of them. She
doesn't have her brother. She doesn't have friends. So what the heck is Max going to be doing next season? I have no idea.
I don't know.
She's going to be doing something, though, for sure. I hope she figures out, not only within her family, but just in life, who she is as a person. But it's going to be hard because she's been wanting that with the center of attention, and now she's like nothing, no attention. So
it's, you know what? It's maybe a little interesting that she's kind of in a place where Georgia was this season.
Yeah.
Like completely isolated.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I wonder if she'll have a conversation with Georgia about that. I don't know.
Interesting.
That's because it's going to be in a weird place because, if she's not hanging out with Jenny, then why would she, So, I don't know. I'm very interested to see what happens. I can
see Georgia, like, maybe being over at Ellen's and going to talk to her. Mm-hmm.
Because, Georgia's very good at observation, and so I feel like she will eventually, when she's calms down, is not on trial for murder, we'll notice that Jenny's not hanging out with Max. So, she notices a lot of things, so... Especially since Max is the one who caught her in the garage, I feel like they're going to have a conversation about that as well.
Perhaps.
So, I don't know. I'm very interested to see what happens. Obviously, I feel really bad for Max. And she also has a line in her episode where she's scrolling on her phone. Is like, does anyone think about me as much as I think about them? And it's like, yeah, you need someone who makes you their best friend as much as you make them your best friend. You know?
Yeah.
So that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. Do you have anything more to say on that? I talked a lot. Sorry.
No, you're good. You were spitting facts. I'm gonna let you spit facts.
Okay.
Let you spit facts.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that they also just weren't interested in having the conversation to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that also speaks a lot of volumes.
Yeah.
I think it's borderline a really important lesson to learn in friendships.
Yeah.
That like if someone says they feel like there's a problem,
Mm-hmm.
you know, even if you disagree, you make it a conversation.
Yeah.
And like if you truly value that friendship, then you know, it's worth listening and figuring out, you know, what that issue is and how do we overcome that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you know, if you're not willing to listen to it, then you know, maybe that's something that the other person needs to take into account, and you know, needs to find some place that's a group that's willing to give that. So you know, I hope that everyone can kind of, because I do love Max. I hope next season we see some Max love.
Yeah.
Because she's truly been going through it this season.
Mm-hmm.
So and I hate that I don't even know what group she would go into, because I know that she like does the theater stuff and she's friends with Bracia.
Yeah.
But you know that she doesn't. I don't see her being a part of like Bracia's friends.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe because Bracia was really supportive during the play when she was like breaking down.
Maybe.
So,
and
I
her
don't know.
boyfriend also got along with her really well.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the transition.
I don't know. But it just, it really sucks because I feel like Max was trying to have those healthy conversations, especially after how poorly she handled last season.
Sure. Some growth.
A lot of growth. But it felt like her friends weren't meeting her there. And then for Ginny to be like, well, we just drifted apart. Drifting apart is like a two-way street. And Max is reaching out to you and you were not reaching back.
That's a great point.
Yeah. It's like, no, you were actively not responding to her. And you can't even sit there and say, well, I was busy with the trial because you're hanging out with everybody else. Like, that's not how it works. If you have time for all these friends, but not one, that's an active choice, whether you're recognizing that or not.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. I don't know. It's just kind of crazy.
It's very crazy.
I want to see where Ginny's head is at as well when she's not dealing with the trial.
Yeah. So overall, this is a much... would you agree that this is a much heavier season than the other ones?
Absolutely. Get your tissues ready.
Absolutely. Do you think when season 4 comes out, do you think they're going to continue to lean emotionally? Clearly, it seems to be what people are responding to.
I think so, for sure. I think, like many of the characters, this show and its writing and its themes have had growth.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see if they wrap that up in season 4 or if they hope for a season 5. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just interested to see where they go with these storylines. I think it's still very open for a lot of these characters. Some of the characters might take more of a back seat. Like, I'm wondering how much we'll see of Marcus since he's going to be gone getting help. I wonder how much we're going to see of Gil. I'd imagine that would have to be with Austin visiting him. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing.
Sure.
But I don't know if they're going to even do that. So, I don't know. I think it's going to be Austin season. Ginny and Georgia are still going to be at the still at the forefront, though.
I hope it becomes like a Ginny, Georgia, and Austin show.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what the pitch for season 4 is.
Yeah. And then also Max is going to have a lot of stuff, I'd imagine. So, yeah, I'm just excited.
I'm trying to think if there's a character I would say she kind of like steps up to fill the role in.
I mean, maybe Marcus, because
That's a great point. I feel like if she takes Marcus's seat a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm okay with that. Like, Marcus needs that time, so I'm gonna miss him, but you know.
Yeah, get help.
I'm interested to see where he is once he gets back.
Yes.
So.
And I'm interested how Ginny acts while he's like what Ginny's up to while he's
so
gone.
true. Mm-hmm. Is there gonna be another guy, or
Another wolf.
Yeah.
Woo.
I don't know. We'll see. Excited.
Is there anything you would like maybe also want that we haven't talked about from the next season? I want another musical.
Yes.
'Cause,
musical or play.
Because Max and Bracia ate that.
Yeah. I need more tutoring sessions between, who is it? Abby
and Triss.
Triss.
I want to see more of that for sure.
Yeah. Even if it's not tutoring, like dates, like something. I need more scenes between them.
You know what else I'm going to pitch in my wants?
Mm-hmm.
I want them to do something with Nora. Because at this point,
Yeah.
she has not had a
Why
good,
is she
a good
here?
plot line for 3 seasons.
No.
And, like, you got to give us something if she's going to stay here this long.
Yeah. I also want more with Bracia. For sure.
I love
I'm
Bracia.
really liking her, and I just don't get a lot of screen time of her. And I want to know what's up with her. I want her to have her own storyline. So whether or not that's with Max, whatever they want to do, I need it to happen. So
I agree. That would be fun as well.
yeah.
Alrighty. So I think that's a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts or comments?
I don't think so.
I will say this season has been #1 on Netflix for at least 3 weeks in a row,
That's awesome.
which is great for this show.
Yeah, that's really good if they want a season 5.
Yes. So how long? One last question I have.
Mm-hmm.
How long do you think is too long for this show? Because I feel like after season 3, I feel like any season beyond now, I think it can be its last season, and it will have run with enough time to do it.
I think so. Like, I would be satisfied if season 4 was the last one.
But I also feel I'd be open to a season 5.
I would
I feel
too.
like the
I
season
feel like-
5 to season 6 range is going to be where it gets close to that line.
Yes. Yeah.
Which I would hate for it to go over, because I think
Yeah.
the show has continued to get stronger each season.
And also the 2-year waits are not it. I need Netflix to be better. Because also Bridgerton, same thing. I'm like, we're not even going to talk about Stranger Things. Oh my God, that's like the worst of it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, you've got to figure out how to get out these shows quicker.
Yeah.
Like, especially when you know you're getting a season 4. I'm hoping there's a shorter wait. Maybe not though. But when you know you're getting another season, especially, you need to, like, when the season is about to air or airing, when you're done with it, immediately start writing the next one.
Yeah.
So you can get that process going quicker. That's how it should be, whether or not you've renewed for another season. But
Yeah. You
I
need
get
to
with
have
streaming
things-
services nowadays,
I
they're
feel like
scared.
you always
but
have to be, like, ready to get into pre-production, like, immediately
Yes.
after the show airs.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And that's okay, like, right when it airs to start pre-production, because then if it, nobody watches it or everybody hates it, you can stop it there and you didn't lose that much. It's not like you have to film and, like, be ready, but I feel like seasons need to start coming out once a year instead of every 2 years. That's great. Or more. Crazy.
I
And
completely
release
agree.
it in a binge or release it in weekly. Don't do the stupid, like, 2 or 3 parts. Stranger Things is going to be horrible because everyone's busy on all 3 days that it's coming out. And they're going to be, like, everyone's talking about how they're going to be movie length. So it's like, you can't go on Twitter or TikTok or any kind of social media until you watch it. And it's going to take you a while to watch it.
Yeah.
Crazy. It's like
You get them.
well, I think Grace Randolph brought up a good point where she's like, you better hope your whole family is into it or else you're going to see spoilers. And that's true. And my family's not into it because they don't have Netflix. So, unfortunate for me, I'm going to lock myself in a room and watch it.
Yeah.
But anyways,
Well,
kind of crazy.
alrighty. I think that is going to wrap up our conversation on the latest season of Ginny and Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Let us know what you guys thought about this season if you guys have watched it. If not, what are you watching right now? We'd love
Yeah.
to hear that.
A lot of stuff out right now.
And until the next time, I'm your host, Luke.
And I'm your other host, Alicia.
And thank you guys so much for listening to Not So Straight Nerds.
Bye.